right? As detectives, we are responsible for responding to crime, and this entails visiting and processing of crime scenes, right? We are also responsible for investigating crimes, gathering the evidence. We we also interview witnesses and suspects, analyzing the evidence, and the ultimate goal is to solve crimes and bring in perpetrators to justice.
So I remember there may be with some officers a while back, but I can't remember exactly. Whenever there is a report of a murder, let's say, you would be one of the first persons on the scene, right?
Yes, that's correct. Our responsibility is to secure crime scene, to preserve evidence, and then the other units, major crime unit, which is also part of C.I.D, will do the investigative part for those um, sort of offenses, such as murders.
I noted that there you didn't mention a CID department in the Grenadines. So for cases in the Grenadines, no, as I'm speaking to you, to be honest, I can't remember hearing many reports of incidents in the Grenadines. But if there is something in the Grenadines, what do you do then?
Yes, that's true. My bad. There is a C.I.D.
Okay.
officer attached to Beckley.
Okay.
Yes, that's as far as we go.
All right.
But if there's a serious crime, such as a murder in other Grenadine Islands, the person or personnel from Kingston, major crime unit, will deal with that situation.
Right. So could you walk us through the steps? You receive a call that would be taken by the communications, am I calling you right, in communications department? So a call comes in, and then what do we go from there as it relates to the CID? How do we go from there?
So basically, a call comes in, and our team will respond to that report. When we arrive on the scene, the first and main priority is to secure the scene, the perimeter of the scene, and to preserve the evidence until the detect. If, for example, if it's a murder scene, as the sergeant would have said, the major crime unit is the investigative unit of that scene. So we ensure that the scene is secure until the detectives arrive.
I didn't ask you before, for persons who may not know which department, because we know we will see different uniforms. Which uniform is the CID? You have a uniform, you have a uniform, right?
No, we don't.
Oh, you don't? Oh,
But
okay.
some departments attached to C.I.D, they have their own uniform that they would have implemented, such as the major crime unit, they will wear polo shirts with the unit logo and such. Yes.
All right. Not on topic, but as we're speaking about uniform, the other day I passed a sentry in an all black uniform, and I've never seen that before. What is that a special uniform for something?
Yes, I think at night they wear, the black uniform. Yes.
All right, thank you. So back to our topic now. All right. So can we speak about your use of your blending traditional investigative techniques with modern forensic tools to help with your cases? I wouldn't call it specific, but I will just let you choose to do that one. So I can imagine. Well,
All right, so when you're called to the scene of a crime, what do you do? What is the first thing that you do when you get there? So we call, you get the response. When you show up on the scene, what happens? Take us to the steps that tend to happen from there.
Okay, when you arrive on the scene, right? You secure the scene, and then you look for evidence. You gather and you collect the evidence, and you make sure you preserve the evidence. Uh, After you do that now, you look for clues that could help in solving the crime. You scan the perimeter for if there is any CCTV cameras that could assist witnesses on the scene, persons, you speak to persons around to find out what they may have heard or seen.
How do you manage to work with, because there will be traditional techniques that the officers, the older officers who were there before, the persons who were there before would use. But of course, when you have new persons coming on the scene and as technology advances, new things are coming on street. So how do you manage to blend the older ways of doing things with the newer ways of doing things?
Well, presently there are a lot of training sessions, right, that are put in place at the criminal investigation department, right, which enable the new detectives, as you said, who come on stream to differentiate, old techniques, new techniques, whereas Constable Castler said, we involve in the packaging of evidence, which is a new technique for forensic purposes. So it's an ongoing process where it has been taught and implemented.
Can I ask each of you to speak about your role in the C.I.D? Let's start with officer.
I think I'm going to word.
Yes. My role is to investigate or respond to reports, right? On a daily basis, persons will come at the criminal investigation department, seeking our assistance. So when they make a report, we usually conduct investigation into the report, right? Because we want to solve justice. So we usually, record, if you're the watcher complainant, record statements from you and record written statements to help with the investigation. For instance, if it's a report of wounding or accident of the hand, where you would have gotten an injury, you will receive copies of medical injury forms too, right? And you will have to go and see the district medical officer or doctor. They will write their findings on the form, and then when you bring them back to us, we will record the statement as I mentioned and conduct investigation.
Okay, my role as a detective at C.I.D. We investigate reports that come into C.I.D. And as a female, sometimes a female come at C.I.D. and they don't feel comfortable dealing with a male officer. So that is where me as a female detective will step in and we set up a rape. We have a rape unit, but if they come to C.I.D., I will be the one that they talk to first, because if they are raped by a male, sometimes you might feel uncomfortable going to a male because that might bring back memories of what happened to you. So that is where I come in. And also report like cyber offenses where a video might leak online. That individual as a female, they might feel more comfortable talking to me, explaining to me about the video and stuff like that. So that is where I come in as a detective, a female detective at C.I.D.
And are there a lot of female detectives though?
Currently, there are 2 female detectives at C.I.D, one in each team.
Okay. And as you speak about rape, some people, we know that rape kits are normally done. Do we have rape kits here in City? When a woman comes to say that she did, what actually happens?
Yes, but what happened? We have a rape unit, so we normally call the rape unit.
Sexual offenses.
The sexual offenses unit.
Okay. Okay. All right. So I'm not trying to focus on rape, but just in case, right? So if a woman comes, if the act has just happened, you would advise her not to bathe, not to change clothing, any of those sort of things, right? Yes. Okay. All right. Let's go. All right.
So my role as a detective is to investigate and solve crimes. When person can either call the station to make a report or they can come personally. So when they come, I entertain their report. I record a statement from them, visit the scene, gather what evidence that I can, whether interview witnesses, and then apprehend, also interview suspects, interview and apprehend suspects. And after gathering all the evidence, I analyze the evidence to see if I have sufficient evidence to take this matter to court, to charge someone and take them to court.
All right, and out of curiosity, so so you are assigned with the file, right? You take the report and you see the file completely, well, all of you, right? You see the file completely through. Is it a case where, let's say you run a thought by another officer, or is it a case where you have everything together first and then you present it to your superior? What happens there? Because sometimes, that you might be going through something and you miss something. So are there like general meetings that happen where this discussion takes place in the event that this particular officer has missed something, somebody else can say, well, have you thought about pursuing this particular angle, or have you thought about investigating this, or did you actually record such and such? Are general meetings taken place before either getting to the superior or going further?
Yes, that's where I step in as a supervisor,
Okay.
right? When someone enters the door of C.I.D, the first person they ask for is the person in charge, right? I will listen to their complaint and I will assign an officer specifically to deal with that report, right? Having done so, taking the statements and so on, I will peruse that statement to ensure that it has all the evidential value, right? If it's lacking, I will outline some things to the investigator that they will go back to that person to clarify, right? You look also for potential witnesses to strengthen your case, right? And once you gather all the evidence, remember I am foreseeing all this, right? Once you gather all the evidence, we compile what we call a file, put together, right? And once everything is completed, I will submit what I have to my superior, right? But in the interim, as you would have alluded to, we have certain meetings to discuss, different reports. And yes, once give a feedback, all members of the team are involved, and this really helps us to complete and investigate the file satisfactorily.
No, I don't want to be presumptuous, but I take it that these two in particular, sorry, I don't want to say these two. So Michael and Justin, that you're young in the force. Is that correct?
Justin is the old one.
Oh, you see that? You see, I was being very presumptuous.
22 years of in the force.
Oh, okay.
Mike is a baby. Mike is a baby.
Oh, Justin is the one who's there.
I'm sorry, Justin.
No, hold on. I got to just make sure, what I have it around here. So Enrico and Michael.
Two babies.
Two babies. Right, I had to correct myself. I just said the wrong thing. All right. So the thing of it is that you are young in the force. So what actually happens by way of training for these particular officers?
Well,
I don't know if you were young or not, but I don't know if you were there.
well, as you know, when you enter the force, there's that initial training, right, which takes place at the Old Montrose Police Training School, where you're taught all aspects of policing, right? And that most of the time is done over a 6 months period, right? And after that initial training, you'll get different training, whether locally or internationally. And, we do our thing at the department also, where we will do training sessions just to sharpen, the young officers who just enter the system.
Okay, so what? Go ahead.
Also, there is a systematic approach in policing or being a detective. As we have mentioned, this is where you start by gathering information from witnesses or victims and take available evidence from the crime scene. This information help to create a timeline of units and identify potential suspects.
So the training that you get is more from person officers who've already been in the force. So like in your position, Justin, perfect on Justin.
No problem.
So it would be you being the one to guide the younger officers from there. And I take it, Bonita, as well. You haven't been in the force for 5 years. Okay. Oh, so you? Oh, well, that's very true. I don't know why I thought you know it's very productive this morning. That's the problem. All right.
Yes, that's my role, to guide them, you understand? And also, as I said, they will be exposed to other training, you know? And it doesn't have to be ex-police officers or current police officers. We bring in persons with certain skills from overseas to do local training as well. Yes.
So you give us an example of when you would collaborate with other departments in the police force?
Okay. On cases. Okay. For example, as Louis would have alluded to, if you have a situation of a sexual nature, she will be the initial person to deal with the report, right? But she will sought the assistance of the sexual offences unit who are specialized in that field for guidance, and sometimes they even take over that report. But if she has to deal with it, they will, back her up, guidance as to how to go through the investigative processes.
Any other departments like traffic,
Are you?
Yes.
Okay, this one.
For instance, if there's a murder, we normally seek the assistance of other departments like the FSU, the Black Squad, as we call it, and even the traffic to help with the traffic of the flow of traffic. So the FSU normally help with calling off the areas
Security.
to secure evidence and stuff like that.
Also to locate suspects. You can call on different departments or stations once you have a suspect so that they can make the arrest and bring it to your department or station.
Another example is executed search warrants. You can call on other units as well. For example, the rapid response unit and SS.
The C.I.D detectives actually go when you're doing searches? Do they go or do you say?
Yes, please. We have to.
Okay.
The investigator has to be present. The person who is investigating the report has to be present when they are conducting the search.
All right. All right. What are some of the challenges that you individually face? All right. What are some of the challenges you've come across in your young and more experienced career so far?
Okay, some of the challenges that we normally face, contamination of evidence on the crime scene. Sometimes there's, for instance, a murder case, and when you go on the scene, you're already persons in the area on the scene, taking pictures, walking on the scene, contaminating that scene. So that's one of the challenges that we face as a detective at C.I.D.
Uncooperative witnesses. Some persons will be reluctant to come forward due to fear, intimidation, and personal motives as well.
And how do you get around that, though?
Well, there is a thing called witness protection. The court needs an order that protects the witness identity in criminal proceedings, ensuring their names and other identity, other information withheld.
Sometimes the court we do voice modulation, which is a very significant aspect of this witness protection program.
If a witness is reluctant to give a statement, even after you have told them, well, we have measures in place to protect you, make sure that you are kept safe, and they still refuse, they're still fearful, they still say, nah, I don't trust you to let me know, or whatever, and they still are reluctant to give a statement. How do you go from there? Are they allowed to just be free and say, you know what, it's your right to give a statement or not give a statement, or do you have other things in place to get that statement?
Well, as you rightfully said, it's their right, right? But we will not just leave it there. We have other ways and means tactfully, deal with the situation, And as you said, there are other measures that we can take so we can inform them of these measures, and maybe by then, they'll change their mind. You never know.
Alright, Enrico, what are some of the challenges that you're facing?
Another challenge is lack of modern technology. Where criminals may use sophisticated tools that can present a challenge for detectives to interpret and access the digital evidence. However, there is a specialized unit to combat this issue, which is the IT department.
And Justin, have the experience one? As the experience one, what are some of the challenges that you face or you have with your department, and not necessarily the execution exclusive, but with the department on the whole?
Well, one of the biggest issues presently is a lack of manpower, right? If we are, or if we have the sufficient men to do the work, I think we can execute our duties more efficiently. We'll have enough time to give attention to a specific case, right? As it stands now, we've been overworked and something that the authorities really need to look into, right? And in terms of technology, as Castillo would have alluded to, we need a bit more training in that aspect because we see how crimes are being committed these days. The criminals are being very sophisticated in the tools that they use to commit these crimes. So I think, a bit of more training in that aspect will go great.
And how do you prioritize cases though? Because I can see if I have an issue or something has happened to me, if I have a matter and I am there waiting, I'm waiting for somebody to get back to me. How exactly do you prioritize cases?
Okay, as the supervisor, right? This is just me, how I go about my work. Every morning I come into work, I will peruse the registers, right? And I will, notice, well, this supposed to be I'll call the investigator and we'll have a one-on-one and we'll share issues. And one of those things that the investigator has to do is to give that person who may report, the complainant, a feedback as to how the progress is going with that particular case. So I don't think you'll have an issue when it comes to the criminal investigation department in terms of feedback and knowing how your case is being progressed.
And how much time should I probably be waiting for some feedback to be given?
It depends, right? Most of the time, within a week or two, we try to keep, in constant communication with the complainant. Sometimes, especially if there, is evidence, we want to gather as much as we can to build a strong case. So maybe in a week or two, the investigator or even me as a supervisor will be in constant communication with the victim.
All right, what are some of the specific or special skills that a C.I.D detective would need to have, something above the normal citizen like me?
Okay, well, some of the skills, the attributes a detective needs, good communication skills. If you are not good at communicating, the work will not be done effectively. Also, ethics. You have to be ethical. If somebody come and report a matter, that is where you have to keep that matter between you and that individual in the report. You cannot go and relate that matter to a family member or friend. You have to keep that matter within the department.
And C.I.D officers, when they're being vetted, right, they have to meet certain requirements, such as statement taken. This is one of the more pertinent aspects of solving a crime. Once you take a proper statement, right, that's the basis or the foundation of conducting a proper and a thorough investigation. So that is one of the main elements of a detective. Statement taking, interviewing of witnesses or even suspects. Those are critical key elements that a detective at C.I.D must possess.
I think another one should be a team player. You cannot do it on your own. You have to rely on each other.
Yes, right. Because someone might have a different outlook on the matter that you're investigating. And sometimes you need to think out the box. And you might not see something or pick up something that makes you investigate that.
All right,
Another skill is critical thinking. Be able to analyze and interpret evidence. There's a saying, there's an ABC saying, as a detective, you must assume nothing, believe nothing, and check. Assume nothing, believe nothing, check everything.
Alright. So I would like us to take a short ad break right here, and then we will be back to finish off the interview. So listeners, we are going to take a break, and when we come back, if you have questions, you can call us for 79997 to get in those at the final end of the interview. Now, good? All right. Many other questions. Proximity that I'll cover. Any particular points you all want to have brought out? Anything in particular?
When we just had a oral ceremony, right? So I just wanted to highlight the.
What's the shining star?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. The recognition?
Yes.
Okay. But I would ask a question before we do the
No
recognition.
problem. Anything else you guys want to highlight?
So there's nothing wrong with it.
No,
It's a good thing.
but Justin did say that you need more manpower to improve technology.
Am I going to step on the road?
Because I was surprised that it's only 2 females.
Yes,
But
really.
so that is,
At one point, I had 2 females working with me, but doing transfers. Because if she falls ill,
right. Yeah.
or even going on vacation or Dianna,
Or they're pregnant and goes on honeymoon,
you know,
We can also highlight on the lead system because we are not properly rested. We can go.
Right, so after close, nothing else when after that going back in.
No problem.
Challenges.
Yeah, no problem. Come on, bring it on.
Hey, Jacka.
Right. We are back with our Cup Chat interview with Roleza and I today this morning. We have Mr. Jacqueline Cupid, Ms. Onika Lewis, Mr. Ernesto Castello, and Mr. Michael De Silva, officers within the Criminal Investigations Department of the Royal Simpsons and the Grenadier Police Force. And we are discussing inside the mind of a C.I.D. detective. And as we're talking about inside the mind of the detective, we're coming down to the end of our interview. We only have a few minutes left. What are some of your personal challenges within working as a C.I.D. detective?
Okay, some of our personal challenges, as we mentioned earlier, is we need more manpower at CID.
Boy.
Because of the lack of manpower, we don't have adequate relief system. So we cannot have enough rest. Sometimes you're working on a side, but you're so drained, you can't concentrate properly on working on that side. So we need more manpower at CID.
Okay, so so I want you to give you challenges as well as why you enjoy being a CID. So let's try to be able to balance it, right?
Well, I like being at CID because I like the challenges. Being at CID is a challenge working at CID. And I like that drive, being able to go out and investigate and being able to help people because that is my love, helping people. So if something happens, especially to a female, I like to go and able to help that female. Sometimes it's not all about locking up people. Sometimes it's about talking to someone. Because I remember one time I was talking to a female, a suspect, and she was like, because of your approach, I think it's because of your approach, it helped me to be able to communicate better with you. If somebody else had come to me, because she said she was an aggressive person, that's what she was using. And because of your approach, it has helped me to calm down. So sometimes that is my love, to help them, to talk to them, communicate. Sometimes you tell them about your life experience. Being an officer, you have to communicate properly with people.
Also, I think that we need more kind of modernizing system. Like, for instance, we usually write statements, but if we have computers, right, we could type the statements which will be faster and it will less stress as well on the finger.
So you're writing statements?
We are moving into the typing of statements presently.
Because sometimes you have to record more than one statement a day. And I don't see your finger before it, but the typing makes it faster and easier. I love working at C.I.D, even though it's very hard at times. I think C.I.D is very hard to work because it's really challenging because you even though you're tired, when you comes in, you know that you're helping people make it better, Even with suspects. Sometimes sitting down and talking to a suspect, they might just tell you everything that you need to know. Just because of the way you spoke with them, treat them as if they are human beings. So even though they are suspects, it doesn't really have to be hard on them.
So you enjoy being a CID officer?
Yes, I enjoy doing it.
All right.
Yes, being a C.I.D. detective can be difficult and challenging. Can be difficult and challenging at times, but you know how good it feels when you solve a crime and you complain and is happy and say thank you, officer. It's a good feeling. And I love being a detective, putting it's like a puzzle, putting the pieces together to get a clear and bigger picture. So,
Well, for me, CID is the ultimate goal of a police officer. That is where everyone wants to be. Maybe because of the perception, that CID officers are the cream of the crop.
Well,
In
well, well.
in
Rush
terms
it off.
in terms of investigations, we can hold our heads up high. I've been the recipient of many, commendation because of cases that I've dealt with, where I, investigate the matter, the outcome, persons are being convicted. Sometimes you walk on the street, top detective going in. That gives you a sense of pride and the drive to work at the criminal investigation department.
And I realized that annually there is an award ceremony that takes place for CID officers. Now, how important is this recognition ceremony for CID officers?
Well, I can tell you,
Oh, how come traffic don't have award ceremony?
traffic at a party. But I can tell you, CID, I must commend the leadership of CID. It's led by Superintendent Francis, and from what I understand, it is his initiative a couple of years ago to have this annual award. I've been a part of it this year, and it is really a tremendous um, feat, to award officers for their hard work and dedication. And among us today are three of the awardees.
Oh, good job.
Yes, yes. And Constable Castillo, he was awarded Top Detective 2024. And I mean, being a young officer of about 2 years or so, and this guy is doing a tremendous work at CID. It's very, I don't believe he has 2 years. I believe he has him some years. His level of maturity, the way he deals with matters, it's really well for the department. If you can have two more like him, we'll move mountains, And he would have dealt with 103 reports for this at specific year, 2024, right? And out of those 103 reports, he would have effected 53 arrests, which is very commendable, right? I think he would have done some work where we would have had a case when an individual was on Facebook doing a business and she was deceiving persons. Mr. Castillo would have done intense investigation into that matter. We would have brought the perpetrator to justice. And he arrested her for about 15 to 20 counts of deception, which is very commendable.
That's how we probably have a future commissioner of police.
I want to put it back there. Yes, and Constable Lewis, one of the hardest working police officers that I've known. Very dedicated to her job and very consistent. She was the police officer of the year 2023, and 2024 she got second place, which is very, very commendable. I think her main contribution this year was to the Cybercrime Act, where she would have arrested 2 individuals, one for 9 counts and one for 7 counts under the Cybercrime Act, which she gained convictions and they were charged some hefty fines. You understand? And that's very commendable, right? Constable Da Silva, he's not directly under my supervision, but I've seen him develop at C.I.D. and he's a very, very helpful young man. You know, he would have done some exceptional work, and I think he placed third in this year awardees. Right? Yes, yes. One of his main report that he dealt with this year, he received intelligence, and he was able, along with the members of his team, to intercept an individual who was traveling in a car, and where they would have retrieved a firearm, ammunition, and ski mask, just to name a few. You know, and that's very, very commendable. I like to, commend them for their hard work and dedication to the job, and hope they continue along this line.
And how does the recognition, at least with the award, how does that help to boost you in terms of your continuing or your performance as a police officer? Does it help in any way?
Yes, it motivates me to be a better detective, and also to mentor others, and continue to solve on crimes.
Yes, I think the award, it's a good initiative because it motivates us. Sometimes you're drained, you're tired, but when you know you have that backing, somebody who could say, you're doing a good work, that motivates you to do more work. I think it's a good initiative.
Yes, please. I think it motivates me to do better and give my best every time I come to work, even though I might be drained. Yeah, but I think it's a team effort as well, I could not have done this without the help and support of my team.
All right.
All right, then.
And I must commend Sergeant. I would not have been able to do this without his supervision. He is a determined and passionate about his work, and he's one of the best persons ever.
Oh, the awards is wonderful. Wow.
And I must add that he's really a good leader, because I remember one time we were off on our leave, our weekend leave, and then we got a call, both me and Costello. The suspect that you all are dealing with is in custody and you have to come back. You know how that feels that you're on your weekend leave? I was like, oh my God, I'm tired, I'm drained. But sadly enough, when we get there, we saw the sergeant at C.I.D. and he didn't have to come back. And the fact that he came back, my spirit just changed immediately.
Okay.
You understand?
Because the support was there.
Yes,
right.
He's always there supporting us, and we must say thanks to him. He's doing a very good job.
Lovely.
Right. Wonderful. So we have all stars in the room here this morning. Now we have come to the end of our interview. We were inside the minds of a C.I.D. detective, or inside the minds of C.I.D. detectives here this morning. We had officers all from the Criminal Investigations Department. We had Sergeant Justin Cupid, Miss Onika Lewis, Mr. Enrico Costello, and Micah Da Silva. At this time, I would just like to offer you the opportunity to leave the listeners with a final word, maybe a word of encouragement to continue to cooperate with the police, or whatever you think you would like to leave them with this morning. And we will start with
the baby.
Well, yes, for everyone that's listening, I think that solving crime is a team effort, and that the police cannot do it themselves. I think civilians need to, if they see a crime, they need to report it, and don't be afraid to be witnesses in matters that could help solve crimes, as I say, because it is a collective effort. Police cannot solve crimes on their own.
I'm encouraging persons, if something happened to you, to come and report the matter. Do not take it into your own hand. And sometimes people, your house might be burglarized, and you might say, oh, me now go station, me leave it like that, the police now do not. No, come and report the matter, because what happened next, it might be your mother next, your father next, or somebody else. The situation might happen to. You come, you report the matter, and sometimes you come and report that matter, and we catch the suspect, and we might, solve another crime by you just reporting one matter. So I'm encouraging persons, when something happens, come and report the matter to the police.
Yes, and we cannot do it without the public. So I want us to work hand in hand in making SVG a safer and better place.
Yes, one thing I would like to echo to the public, right, in terms of when you see a crime happening, right, you don't have to be an eyewitness to cooperate with the police or give a statement, right? It can be someone who, as in, saw something leading up to the crime, after the crime. These are very significant pieces of evidence. So you don't have to be an eyewitness. You might, as I said, see something leading up, see something after, cooperate with the police. This information might go a long way in helping to solve a crime.
All right, and there we end. But I'm going to say this before I go, though. For Detectives Costello and Da Silva, you are fairly young men, and according to the information that we're getting here this morning, you are great detectives. And I would hope that in your communities, in your regular life, that you are great young men, and I would like to encourage you to continue to set examples to the other young men. Do not be influenced by them, but instead you influence, so that we could continue to build a better generation of men, because I'm sure you would hear a lot of the complaints that are out there. And even when you're investigating, you see a lot of young men finding themselves in trouble. So I would like to encourage you start probably with your friend group, your family members, and go from there. Right? And that is it for us here on Cop Chat this morning. We have come to the end of our interview. Thank you, detectives, for taking time out to be here. We hope that some of your challenges will be solved very soon, so you can get the necessary rest that you need to continue to be great.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.